So everyone is nicely situated. Everyone is nicely fed. Prasad was all right. And did you get some time to rest after Prasad? And thank you very much. Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Shamabeto Bhakto Vrinda ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. So, this morning, and in 2 classes, we covered up to practically up to 7th, 8th, 9th, 3 chapters we covered. And so we'll come to the 10th chapter now. From 7 to 9 chapter described about the 24 gurus of the Avadhuta. And this 10th chapter is actually describing the nature of fruitive activity. So, fruitive activity, that is the natural tendency. In the material nature, one is fruitive. That means he does something and he wants to enjoy the result of his action. That is called karma. And the goal of karma is bhukti. Bhukti means enjoyment. The goal of karma is enjoyment, and goal of jnana is liberation. Bhukti, mukti. Goal of yoga is siddhi. And goal of bhakti is prem. So this prem is the ultimate goal of life. Prema pumartha mahan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out that beyond this bhukti and mukti, one should aspire for love of Godhead. Prem. Prema pumartha mahan. And actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or rather Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is pointing out that this desire for liberation and desire for enjoyment, even desire for liberation, is like a pot of poison. Pot of poison. Somewhere it has also been described as a pishachi. Pishachi means a witch who sucks blood. Bhukti, mukti have been compared to a witch because they allure us away from our ultimate goal and ruins our existence. Even liberation, desire for liberation has been considered to be a pot of poison, or now I can pot of poison, and or like influence or work of a witch. So here Krishna is telling Uddhava about the futility of karma. What's the point in trying to enjoy this material nature? What's the nature of fruitive activity and how to transcend that influence. Everybody naturally wants to enjoy in the material nature. Only one becomes situated in knowledge, then only he understands. And what is the knowledge? This knowledge is that endeavor for enjoyment leads to suffering. And the way to get out of the suffering condition is to become a devotee of Krishna. That is the essential knowledge. Knowledge, real knowledge is to understand the nature of our situation, our situation in this material nature, and the actual remedy from that suffering condition. A purified soul should see that because the conditioned souls who are dedicated, conditioned souls who are dedicated to sense gratification have falsely accepted the objects of sense pleasure as truth. All of their endeavors are doomed to failure. Meaning, those who are thinking that the goal of life is to enjoy in this material nature, they are thoroughly misled. Their life is a failure. One who has fixed me within his mind as the goal of his life should give up activities based on sense gratification and should instead execute work governed by regulative principles for advancement. So Krishna is actually giving direct instructions. What should one do? So that is the beauty of this Uddhava Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna was not so direct. In Uddhava Gita, he is just to the point. What is the goal of life? Now we can see that, anyway, it will come to that. Let me just read these few points. One who has accepted me as the supreme goal of life should strictly observe the scriptural injunctions forbidding sinful activities. And as far as possible, should execute the injunctions prescribing regulative duties such as cleanliness. And ultimately, however, one should approach a bona fide spiritual master. So this is the essence of devotional service. Actually, this point has been very nicely established by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In his Madhurya Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is considering that what is the cause of devotion? How does one get devotion? And he is making various possibilities. This is how they do. They call it Purva Paksha and Uttar Paksha. Like, come up with a possibility and then remove that possibility. No, that's not possible. Is it possible to achieve devotional service through pious activities? That is one of the first things he is considering. But he is coming to the conclusion, no, pious activities cannot give devotion to Krishna. Then he is even going to the extent of questioning or proposing, does one get devotional service by Krishna's mercy? Even that he is rejecting. And see how wonderfully he is coming to the conclusion that if Krishna gives devotion to some, and if Krishna doesn't give devotion to someone else, then it means that Krishna is being partial to somebody. Now Krishna is totally impartial. Krishna is completely equipoised. So, it's not possible that Krishna gives devotion. Then who gives devotion? How is it possible to get devotional service? It's possible to receive devotional service by the mercy of a devotee. Not by the mercy of Krishna, but by the mercy of a devotee only that we can get devotion. That is why it is so important to approach a devotee of the Lord who is practicing the process of pure devotional service. Here devotion also has different colors, different types. There is mixed devotion and there is pure devotion. Mixed devotions are when the devotional service, even to Krishna, is mixed with some other desire. Then that is mixed devotional service. Other desires. What are the other desires? Again, we are going back to those 2 points. Bhukti and mukti. Karma and jnana. When the devotion is mixed with karmic, fruitive desire, then it is karma mishra bhakti, which is known as karma yoga. When devotional service is mixed with the desire for liberation, then it is mixed with jnana. And it is called jnana mishra bhakti or jnana yoga. But when devotional service is devoid of these two influences, karma and jnana, then it is called pure devotional service. How many of you remember the definition of pure devotional service from Nectar of Devotion? Very good. Anna bhilashita sunnam jnana karmad anabritam. Anna bhilashita shunnam jnana karmad anabritam anukullena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama, or pure devotional service. Jnana karmad anabritam. Abrita means covered. So when devotional service is free from the coverings of jnana and karma, no covering, no mixture. Therefore it is called unalloyed devotion. Sometimes Prabhupada selected this word so wonderfully. Alloy means what? Alloy means mixture of other metals. Like iron mixed with other metals becomes steel. So this is an alloy steel. But pure devotion is unalloyed. No alloy. Alloy actually blends together. Even the atomic structure changes for alloy. Like they put nickel, cadmium, etc. And iron, simple ferrous, becomes an alloy. So unalloyed, no mixture. That is pure devotion. Like pure means the substance in its original state. No other mixture. For example, pure water. You need pure water. Like for medicines, they need distilled water. Right? Pure water. If the water is mixed with something, will that be considered as pure? No. Even if that water is mixed with gold, it will not be considered to be pure. Water means pure water. Devotion means pure devotion. So that is what Krishna is actually pointing out here, that one should be free from all these tendencies of, here he is talking about desire for sense gratification, but it should be simply motivated to please him. Simply motivated to please him. That is the purpose. Ultimately, however, one should approach a bona fide. Okay, so as we were discussing, like how does one receive pure devotional service? By approaching a pure devotee of the Lord. Like we can consider, was devotional service available in the Western world? How did it become available to the Western world? Because of arrival of Srila Prabhupada. Now this is the effect of a pure devotee's influence. Prabhupada came and pure devotional service became available. First to America, then to Europe, and then gradually. So that is the effect of a pure devotee. And what does a pure devotee do? Pure devotee makes pure devotees. A pure devotee makes pure devotees. See, Prabhupada came and so many devotees appeared. So many individuals became devotees. Now sometimes some people say that in ISKCON no one is qualified. This was a big thing. I don't know how prevalent this mood is now, but there was a time when there was a big thing which is called ISKCON reform movement. In colloquial, they are known as Ritviks. Their point was, in ISKCON, no one is qualified to be a guru. Therefore, only Prabhupada is the guru, and Prabhupada will continue to give initiation. Although there is no such precedence in the scriptures that one continues to give initiation after his disappearance from the planet. Anyway, so now how we can see that how they are wrong to say that Prabhupada was a pure devotee, but Prabhupada couldn't make a single pure devotee. Doesn't it signify a total failure of Prabhupada? Prabhupada failed if they stick to that concept. Prabhupada could not make a single pure devotee. But what is the reality? What does a pure devotee do? What is the influence of a pure devotee? The influence of a pure devotee is that he makes pure devotees. Therefore, pure devotee is often compared to a touchstone. By coming in contact with the touchstone, others also become touchstones in the spiritual context. Touchstone makes touchstone, just by touch. And that's the effect. By coming in contact with a pure devotee, one becomes a pure devotee. And then by coming in contact with those devotees, others become pure devotees. This is how the influence of devotion spreads. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to a village, stop there only for one night. And throughout the night he would instruct the people, those who gathered there. And then in the morning he would leave. And then Mahaprabhu would tell them, now what I have given you, you go and give it to others. Jare dakho tare kaho Krishna upadesh. You give it to others. And that is how Mahaprabhu spread Krishna consciousness movement. That is how Krishna consciousness movement spreads. And that's how Srila Prabhupada also spread Krishna consciousness movement. He came and he influenced others. Young Americans didn't have any contact whatsoever with Vedic culture. What to speak of Vedic culture? Didn't have any contact with spiritual life. They couldn't care less about spiritual life. But by coming in contact with Srila Prabhupada, they all became pure devotees. And they went to different other places. And by coming in contact with them, those people became pure devotees. And this is how Krishna consciousness movement spread. So, that's why it is so important. One of the most important criterion for receiving pure devotional service, as it's been pointed out here, is to accept initiation from bona fide spiritual master. And who is a bona fide spiritual master? What is the qualification of a bona fide spiritual master? Jai Krishna Tattva Betta Shai Guru. One who knows Krishna in truth, he is a bona fide spiritual master. It is not that only Prabhupada's disciples are pure devotees. It's not that only Prabhupada is pure devotee. Then we go to the next stage. Prabhupada's disciples, those who came in contact with Srila Prabhupada, they are pure devotees. Those who are coming in contact with them, they are also becoming pure devotees. Those who will come in contact with them, they will become pure devotees. So this is how Krishna consciousness movement is going to spread, is destined to spread. So, Krishna is pointing out, when one becomes serious about spiritual life, that means when one realizes that this material nature is a place of suffering and somehow or other we have to get out of this suffering condition. Then, only when he comes in contact with a devotee of Krishna, then only he gets to know what is the real way of getting out of the suffering condition. Because there are many other processes. Like when many of us had that experience, like when they were searching for spiritual life, even in India, we came across people. They said, this is the way, that is the way, and this, there are various processes. There is austerities is considered to be one way. Yoga is considered to be one way. Performing sacrifice is considered to be one way. Different individuals from their field will give direction in those respective areas. But those are not the real way. Parikshit Maharaj also actually faced that situation when he was cursed. He went to the bank of the Ganges. He knew he has only 7 days, and he was considering now what to do. And different exalted personalities who gathered there, they were giving him different directions. Oh, do this, perform austerities, perform this, perform yajna, and so forth. But only when Shukadeva Goswami came, he got the real path. And what is the way? Surrender to Krishna. Besides surrendering to Krishna, there is no way one can get out of this suffering condition. One should Hare Krishna. Yeah, it takes some time to pick up actually. One should see one's real self-interest in life in all circumstances and should therefore remain detached from wife, children, home, land, relatives, friends, wealth, and so on. So, that's what a devotee reminds us. The business of a devotee is to point out what are the cause of bondage and what is the way to become free from the bondage. But the uniqueness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's line is that in other ages, even in devotional path, there was a consideration of rejection. But in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, the unique thing is that there is no need for rejection. There is a consideration of proper application. This proper application Prabhupada pointed out as what expression Prabhupada used for that? Dovetailing. Dovetailing. So dovetail means you fit in to that mold. Actually, one day we were discussing about the meaning of the word dovetailing. And Rabindra Swarup Prabhu, who is an extremely brilliant scholar, he actually explained the word dovetailing. Dovetailing is a word that is used in, this expression is used in carpentry. You see, have you seen two wood, how they're joined together? One wood, one piece has a slot in an angular way, and the other thing has the protruding wood in an angular way. And what the carpenter do? They just press it and they become fixed up. So that is the meaning of the word dovetailing. Fit in. So that is the uniqueness of Sankirtan. In other ages, renunciation, detachment, etc. was the way. But in the Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a very unique process. And what is that process? The process of Sankirtan. What is Sankirtan? Dovetailing. Whatever is there, just use it in Krishna's service. Apply it in Krishna's service. Apply it in glorifying Krishna. Just use it in Krishna's service, it will become spiritualized. In other ages, the process was you give up material and then embark on spiritual. Right? In simple words, we can say, the senses are running towards the material direction. The process was withdraw your senses from matter and project it onto spiritual. The process of yoga was actually to withdraw. Ashtanga Yoga, the fifth aspect of Ashtanga Yoga is pratyahar. Pratyahar means withdrawal. Withdraw the senses. And then comes the projection to Krishna, Dhyan. Can you imagine how difficult this process of withdrawal is? We don't even have to go that far as withdrawing. Let us go to the area of pranayam. You know what is the goal of pranayam? The goal of pranayam is to stop breathing. Because when you can stop breathing, then only you can stop the activities of your mind. Because our breathing and the functioning of our mind has a very close connection. We can see that when you're very agitated, very disturbed in your mind, how do you breathe? Don't you breathe fast and heavy? When your mind is peaceful, how do you breathe? Slowly, softly. So So this is how breathing and the functioning of the mind have a link. Therefore, in yoga, then pranayama stage, they actually practically stop the process of breathing in order to stop the functioning of the mind. The purpose of the yoga aphorism begins with that concept. Atha chitta vritti nirodha. Chitta vritti means the activities of the mind. What is the activity of mind? Activity of mind is to think. So stop thinking. Nirodha. Nirodha means stopping, ceasing, cessation. The mind's activities stop. That is the goal of yoga. How many people can do that? And the way to do that, one of the aspect was, the fourth aspect of Ashtanga Yoga is pranayam. Like our breathing consists of 3 activities. Generally people think that breathing consists of 2 activities. Inhaling and exhaling, isn't it? No. Breathing is another activity which is the most important aspect of breathing. That is retaining. Inhale, exhale, retain. Rather, exhale, inhale, retain. And that retaining aspect is called kumbhaka. Rechaka, puraka, kumbhaka. So, in this way, one remains in a state of kumbhaka, means practically stop breathing. And this is how they would control the mind. Then comes pratyahar. Pratyahar means withdraw the mind. Withdrawing the mind from the objects of the senses. Now, only when one is capable of doing that, he can properly meditate. Mind has been now withdrawn from matter, and now it is projected onto Krishna, who is situated in the heart. Who is situated? Hare Krishna. Okay. Who is situated in the heart. So this is how that was the process in other ages, especially through the Ashtanga Yoga. But in Krishna consciousness, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a very wonderful process. You don't have to withdraw your mind. Rather, you offer it to Krishna. Offer it to Krishna directly. Whatever jat karosi, jadasnasi, jat juhosi, dadasi jat. Jat tapushoshi konteya, tat kurusha madarpanam. Jat karosi. Can anyone stay without acting? Can anyone stay without acting? No. We have to act. So whatever we do, let's offer it to Krishna. Let's do it for Krishna. Can you stay without eating? No, we have to eat. Okay, offer the food to Krishna and take Krishna Prashna. In this way, we can dovetail all our activities to Krishna consciousness. And this is such a simple process. It can be executed even by a child. This is how simple this process is. So, as I was coming to explain this point, see, this point is actually quite a heavy point. One should see one's real self-interest in life, in all circumstances, and should therefore remain detached from wife, children, home, land, relatives, friends, wealth, and so on. You propose this, how many people will come to you? I have to give up my wife. I have to give up my children. I have to give up my friends. I have to give up my relatives. I have to give up my job. I have to give up my bank balance. So everyone will run away. But Sankirtan is giving such a wonderful solution. You don't have to give up your wife, but make her into a devotee of Krishna. Engage her in serving Krishna. You don't have to give up your children. Train them up to become devotees of Krishna. You don't have to give up your job. The money that you are earning, consider that money is used in Krishna's service. And in this respect, I give a very simple solution that sometimes people ask, well, I'm working in such a terrible situation, what shall I do? Like I have to earn money to maintain my family, but this atmosphere is so polluting, so bad, I don't like to work. And their consideration is that working outside is not a Krishna conscious activity. Most of my time is just wasted in this mundane activity. I just tell them that consider that your house is Krishna's house. Your home is Krishna's temple. Your family is Krishna's family. Therefore, when you are earning money to maintain your household and take care of your family members, who are you doing it for? You are doing it for Krishna's house and for the members, those who are living in Krishna's house. Then earning money, is it a mundane activity or is transformed into spiritual activity? At the end of the month, when you get the money and this money is used in maintaining your house, maintaining Krishna's household, then it is spiritual activity. So just by developing this consciousness, we can transform our apparently material activity into spiritual. We can spiritualize our mundane activities. Hare Krishna. Just as fire, now he is talking about the soul. What is the soul's activity like? How should we understand the soul's activity? And here Krishna is giving an analogy. The fire and wood. Like wood, does it have any semblance to fire? Does it look like fire, the wood? But there is fire in the wood. That's why under certain condition, the fire comes out from the wood. So similarly, our body is like the wood and the soul is like fire. The soul is there, soul's influence in the body is there. But apparently, the body is matter and it has no semblance, no resemblance to fire. But just as fire comes out from wood, through the process of devotional service, by practicing the process of devotional service, our spiritual identity will become manifest from this apparently material body. And especially the human form of life is so special, because in this human form of life we are getting an opportunity to become Krishna conscious. Now we have two types of bodies. Material bodies are two kinds. One is gross body and the other is subtle material body. So a devotee must understand the difference between these two bodies. A person who is trying to make progress in spiritual life must understand the difference between these two bodies. But both these bodies are actually a product of material nature, due to the modes of material nature. We have developed these two types of bodies, the gifts of nature, you can say. And material existence occurs when one identifies himself with gross and subtle bodies, with these material bodies. Now see, in the point that Krishna made is the fire and wood. Like from the wood comes out the fire under certain condition. Now we have to learn the difference between how the fire or the soul began to identify itself with matter. And that is the important aspect of spiritual life. So this has been very nicely pointed out. That will come later on. I can briefly give you an idea. Like, what is this condition of gross and subtle body? A spirit soul is a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Being a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the soul also is qualitatively one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this respect, an analogy can be given, that of a sun, and that of the sun. The sun is luminous. Sun is the source of light and heat. And there are innumerable rays coming out from the sun. Now those rays are also qualitatively one with the sun. Qualitatively, sun gives out light and heat. Rays also contain light and heat. But when the ray becomes separated from the sun, if under some condition the ray becomes separated from the sun, then will the ray have the light or heat? Now, normally a ray cannot become separated from the sun. When a ray becomes separated from the sun, then it loses its identity. Then there won't be any ray. Like for example, the sun's ray are coming directly. Now this part, the rays are obstructed. There won't be any light. No rays will be coming in that direction. But the spirit soul's condition is little different. A spirit soul's condition is like, it severs its relationship with Krishna, but still it continues with its identity. It continues to exist. Now consider, a ray came to an area where it became separated from the sun, but it entered into that area. What is that area where there is no sun? The area of darkness. So Maya or material nature is like that area of darkness. This material nature is the area where sun's rays don't enter. Therefore, this area is in total darkness. Fortunately, by the divine arrangement of Krishna, there is sun. Therefore, there is light. There is moon and there is fire. Therefore, there is some light. Can you imagine this world without sun, moon or fire? Would there be any light? No. So this is the material nature, the nature of darkness. And we have entered into this area, and as a result of that, we have severed our connection with Krishna. Therefore, we lost our spiritual qualities. The spiritual qualities that we used to have, Satchidananda, that we have lost. And coming into the region of darkness, we have developed some other identity. That is, we started to identify ourselves with matter. This respect also, another analogy can be considered as a spark and fire. Spark is fire. When the spark comes out of the fire, then can it retain its fiery qualities? Spark is a tiny fire. When this tiny fire spark comes out of the fire, it loses its fiery qualities. And what is outside the fire? Outside the fire is ash. And falling on a heap of ash that is around the fire, the spark becomes ash. So our situation is somewhat like that. We are tiny spiritual individuals. But when we became separated from Krishna, the source of all spiritual energy, then we lost our spiritual qualities. And we fell in an area where Krishna's energy is not manifest, where sun is not available, sun is not entering. That is the area of darkness. That area of darkness is the material nature. Now we were actually fire, but now we are identifying ourselves with ash. We were spiritual, but losing our connection with Krishna, we are identifying ourselves with matter. Aren't we? Considering our body made of matter to be ourselves. That is the condition in the material, condition of a living entity in a material nature. Now the simple consideration is, for that tiny little spark, that tiny little inflammable speck of inflammable object that was spark at one time, if it wants to regain its fiery qualities, what it has to do? It has to go back to the fire. If it goes back to the fire, then again it will become fire. Now the question is, now we are coming back again to the same point. How can a speck of inflammable substance that was spark at one time go back to the fire? By itself it cannot go back to the fire. Somebody has to carry him to the fire. And who is that somebody? That somebody is a devotee of the Lord. It is only by the mercy of the devotee of the Lord we can actually come. He may not take us by hand and take us to the spiritual realm, but what he can do is, he can just flick that, and then it just flies into that. The pure devotee of the Lord motivates us to go towards Krishna, and then with our own effort and also by Krishna's mercy we go into the spiritual domain. So then it's pointing out the material senses create material activities, either pious or sinful, and the modes of nature set the material senses into motion. What sets the senses into motion? The modes of material nature. We can actually see all these answers we can find in Bhagavad Gita. The same thing Krishna is actually, same knowledge Krishna is giving in a different way. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha. Our involvement in the material nature is simply due to our karmic reactions and the influence of the modes of material nature. Gunai karmani sarvasaha. But ahankara vimuratma kartaham iti mannati. Being bewildered by false ego, we think that we are the doers. That is our problem. We are thinking that we are the doers. I am doing. I achieved it. I should be glorified. What is that concept of I? That concept of I is ahankar, false ego. Misconception of I. Instead of I being the servant of Krishna, I became the enjoyer of this material nature. Instead of being submissive to Krishna, I want to lord over this material nature. In order to, instead of acting according to Krishna's instructions and according to his will, his desire, I am trying to act on my own. And as a result of that, I am entangled in this material nature. So we can see two things are only functioning. The autopilot, the material nature is actually a thing set by in autopilot. Autopilot, the planes in certain condition, after it goes to certain height, it is set into autopilot, then the plane moves on its own. The pilot doesn't have to do anything. The plane on its own takes the course. And so material nature is something like that. An autopilot. Like this autopilot is working with two factors. One factor is guna and the other factor is karma. As Krishna pointed out here, the senses has been motivated by the modes of nature. Under the influence of the mode of goodness, the senses function in a certain way. Under the influence of mode of passion, the senses function in some other way. Under the mode of ignorance, the senses function in some other way. So this is how the senses are being motivated or guided by the modes of material nature. The modes of nature set the material senses into motion. The living entity, being fully engaged by the material senses and modes of nature, experiences various results of fruitive work. Experiences various results of fruitive work. That means karma. Guna and karma. It works, it functions in a certain way, and it gets a result, and it becomes affected by that. Now, being affected by that, they again function. That produces results. And then it gets entangled. In this way, a living entity gets trapped. Once Prabhupada gave an example of how complex a living entity's situation in this material nature is. He gave the example of a seed. A seed falls on the ground. A tree comes up. In the tree there are innumerable fruits. In one season only there are innumerable fruits. And season after season, Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. So, season after season there are innumerable fruits coming. And in those fruits there are innumerable seeds. In those seeds there are innumerable trees. In those trees, can you imagine how many seeds are there? So one little karma can entangle us into this material nature forever. Just can you imagine, just from one seed, how many trees could possibly develop? Similarly, from one karma, so many karmic reactions can develop. Therefore, it is impossible to get out of karmic reactions. The only way we can get out of these karmic reactions is by surrendering to Krishna. Because Krishna is the only one who can burn out all our karma, wipe out all our karma. Aham tvang sarva papebhyo mokshoyishami. Deliver you from all your sinful reactions. Krishna actually meant all your karmic reactions. But he did not say that because people are attached to pious actions and averse to sinful reactions. Because pious reactions give them enjoyment. Therefore everybody actually wants pious action. Everybody wants the result of pious action. Therefore Krishna did not deal with the pious actions. Okay, you want to enjoy your pious action, fine. But you don't want to suffer your sinful reaction. So I will deliver you from all your sinful reactions. But actually what Krishna meant that I will deliver you from both your pious and impious reactions. That's also Krishna made it clear in instructions. That devotional service frees one from both pious and impious activities. Then finally Uddhava asked a question to Krishna. My Lord Achyuta, the same living entity is sometimes described as eternally conditioned and other times as eternally liberated. I am not able to understand, therefore, the actual situation of the living entity. You, my Lord, are the best of those who are expert in answering philosophical questions. Please explain to me the symptoms by which one can tell the difference. Haribo. I think we should do something about the sound system. Like last evening it was all right. Overheating.
You can use the backup, but it's not as loud.
Use the backup also.
Use the backup also.
I mean, you have to cut this to... Yeah. Okay, then let it be. Please explain to me the symptoms by which one can tell the difference between a living entity who is eternally liberated and one who is eternally conditioned. In what various ways would they remain situated, enjoy life, eat, evacuate, lie down, sit, or move about? So this chapter ends there with this question of, like after receiving the instructions of Krishna, from Krishna about the karmic, futility of karmic involvement, futility of fruitive activities. Now he is actually now entering into the region of knowledge, jnana. With this question, it is now coming in. What was the question? The symptoms of conditioned and liberated living entities. What are the symptoms? There are some living entities are conditioned or bound by the material nature, and some living entities are free from the bondage of material nature. In simple words, it can be said that some are materially involved and some are in their spiritual identity. So these are the two types of people. So in response to that, Krishna is saying, my dear Uddhava, due to the influence of material modes of nature, which are under my control, the living entity is sometimes designated as conditioned and sometimes liberated. In fact, however, the soul is never really bound up or liberated. And since I am the supreme lord of Maya, which is the cause of the modes of nature, I also am never to be considered liberated or in bondage. Krishna is eternally liberated. In this respect, Prabhupada gives the example like conditioned and liberated. So I'll just first go through this point, and then we'll go read some points. First I will, in one go, I'll explain the condition of conditioned and liberated. This can be considered as imprisoned and free. There's a prison house. Now, in the prison house, generally there are prisoners, right? So prisoners are imprisoned, they're bound, meaning they're destined to stay in the prison. They cannot get out, right? But outside the prison, they are not imprisoned. They are all free people. So, who are prisoners? What is the criteria for becoming imprisoned? Those who broke the law of the king, right? The king has given the law, and when one breaks the law, that is a crime. And due to the crime, one becomes imprisoned as a punishment. Now, when one is situated in the prison, he is suffering all kinds of punishments in the prison. But in the prison house also, there are some people, those who are acting on behalf of the king. Although they are in the prison, are they prisoners? Right? They are free, but they are in the prison. Now, what is the difference between a prisoner and those people? The prisoners are the ones who broke the law and broke the law of the king, and therefore they are being punished in the prison. Whereas the employees of the king and the prisoners, they are king's servants. They are king's representatives. Therefore, they are not in prison, they are free. Now there is another condition. The other condition is that when a prisoner finds out from one of these people, those who are serving the king, like what is the reason for their imprisonment. The prisoner forgot why he is being imprisoned, why he is being punished in the prison. That is our condition like. We do not know why you are suffering. But then somebody comes and tells us, you know why you are suffering? Because you broke the law of the king. You have committed a crime. Therefore you are suffering. So he asked, so please tell me, what should I do? I'm sorry that I made this mistake. And he says, okay, you can write a letter to the king. Tell him that from now on you will never go against him. You'll always abide by his law. And he writes a letter to the king. And this personality carries the letter to the king. Then king says, oh, that's a very good gesture. So anyway, so now that he wants to surrender unto me, watch him carefully. See that he is acting properly. See that he is not breaking the law anymore. And he also informs the other caretakers of the prison that this person actually wrote a letter to me asking for amnesty, and so you take care of him. Watch him carefully. And also help him. So then this person starts to surrender himself to the king. Although he is in the prison, and the king is out there in his palace, not in the prison, but king is getting his report that this person is doing this. And then this person also experiences, ever since he wrote a letter to the king, the criminals are not punished, the prison authorities are not punishing him. And not only that, they're giving him nice facilities. He get good food, which he didn't get before. Sometimes they take him out and give him some nice gifts. They gave him a nice cell to live in. And he then starts to tell others also, other prisoners, that I did this, and as a result of that I started to get this benefit. Why don't you also do that? And when the king hears that this particular prisoner started to sing his glory and about the benefit of becoming submissive to him. So king says, very good. So give him more facilities that he can influence the other prisoners. Although this prisoner is dressed like a prisoner, but he is not treated like a prisoner anymore. So then, this prisoner, finally the king sends a report, sends an order to the prison authorities that I need a servant. My cook has retired and I need a good cook. I heard he's a very good cook. Send him over to me. So then this prisoner now is taken to the palace of the king. And there he lives with the king and serves the king and enjoys with the king. Now you can see prisoner and free. There are different types of free individuals. One is those who are living outside the prison, they're all free. Those who are outside this material nature, those who are living in the spiritual nature, they all are eternally liberated souls. In the prison house, those who are serving the king on behalf of the king, they are also liberated. They are not prisoners. And among the prisoners also, those who have surrendered themselves to the king, they are also on their way of liberation. They are also somewhat liberated. So that is the general understanding of conditioned state and liberated state. And then Krishna actually here makes a very wonderful point that we somehow discussed in the morning also. Like this material nature is like a dream. Krishna is making that point here. I'll just read some of those points. Just as a dream is merely a creation of one's intelligence, but has no actual substance, similarly, material lamentation, illusion, happiness, distress, and acceptance of the material body under the influence of Maya are all creations of my illusory energy. So our involvement and whatever we are going through in the material nature is influence due to the influence of the material nature, illusory energy of Krishna. Both knowledge and ignorance are beginningless and perpetually award liberation and bondage to embodied living entity. One who is in ignorance, he is bound. One who is in knowledge, he is liberated. And as I mentioned earlier, what this knowledge constitute of? This knowledge is due to our awareness of our existence in the material nature and our relationship with Krishna. That is the real knowledge. Know what this material nature is and know also who Krishna is and how to become related to Krishna. The living entity, the jiva, is a part and parcel of me, but due to ignorance he has been suffering in material bondage since time immemorial. By knowledge, however, he can become liberated. So by knowledge, one can become liberated. Then Krishna speaks about two birds in a tree. In the tree of this body, there are two birds. One is a fruit-eating bird and the other is witnessing bird. He is not eating the fruits. He simply witnesses the activities of the other bird. So the fruit-eating bird is a living entity, Jivatma, and the witnessing bird, who is witnessing the activities of this other, is a super soul or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now this is actually a very important point. One who is enlightened in self-realization, although living with the material body, sees himself as transcendental to the body. So one who has been enlightened in self-realization, that means one who has understood and is acting according to his relationship with Krishna, he, although residing in this material body, he is not bound, he is free. Iha yasya harer dasya karmana manasa gira nikhilasapya avasthasu jivan muktasa uchyate. One who has become engaged in devotional service to Krishna, harer dasya karmana manasa gira, his activities, his body's activities, manasa, his mental activities, gira, his speech, are all, his body, mind and speech are engaged in serving Krishna. He is liberated. Nikhilasapya avasthasu, under all circumstances. So although he may be living in his body, jivan mukta sauchyate, although he is living in an apparently material body, he is liberated. So that is the state of liberation. Although he is in the body, but in the body is a pure spirit soul. Now, if we go even deeper, then we can see that he is a spirit soul devoid of the subtle body. He is a pure spirit soul. That means he doesn't have the subtle body. He is in the gross body, but his subtle body has disappeared, dissolved. That also can be understood in this way, that the mind, subtle body is comprised of three elements: mind, intelligence and false ego. When the mind constantly thinks of Krishna, is that material or spiritual? When the intelligence is engaged in serving Krishna, is that intelligence is material or spiritual? When one has become in this way engaged in serving Krishna, does he have a false ego or not? He is situated in his real identity, so no false ego. So see what happened to his subtle body made of mind, intelligence and false ego. Gone. So that is a pure spirit soul without the subtle body. But he is dwelling in the gross body, made of matter. But that body is not material body. And in this respect, Prabhupada gives the example of iron and fire. When the iron is in fire, is it fire or iron? When the iron becomes red hot, is it iron or fire? Very good. If somebody said iron, somebody did say iron. And you know what Prabhupada's response was? Touch it. So that is the condition of a apparently material body of a pure devotee. Within his body there is a pure spirit soul devoid of material mind, material intelligence and false ego. There is a pure spirit soul dwelling in this apparently material body. So that body is not material, that body is spiritualized. An enlightened person who is free from contamination of material desire does not consider himself to be a performer of bodily activities. Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki jai. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Anyway, so I gave you the synopsis of this chapter in a way. Here, okay, this point is actually quite interesting. Remember this morning we discussed about the certain gurus, 24 gurus that Avadhuta spoke about. Now, here also Krishna is mentioning is those points. Although the sky or space is resting place of everything, the sky does not mix with anything. Right? Avadhuta made that point. What he learned? Be like ether or sky. Similarly, the sun is not at all attached to the sun is not at all attached to the Hare Krishna. Sun is not at all attached to the water in which it is reflected within innumerable reservoirs. And the mighty wind blowing everywhere is not affected by the innumerable aromas and atmospheres through which it passes. In the same way, a self-realized soul is completely detached from the material body and the material world around it. He is like a person who has awakened and arisen from a dream, with expert vision sharpened by detachment. The self-realized soul cuts all doubts to pieces through knowledge of the self and completely withdraws his consciousness from the expression of material variety. So a person is considered to be completely liberated from the gross and subtle material bodies when all the functions of his vital energy, senses, mind and intelligence Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Mind and intelligence are performed without material desire. He acts with his senses, body, mind, words, but they are not. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. It's all right. Ekavira Prabhu. It was working fine. Hare Krishna. Such a person, although situated within the body, is not entangled. So that is the symptom of a liberated soul. Although he is in the body, but he is not entangled. Okay, at this point I will invite some questions. Who has... Yes?
You were mentioning about unalloyed devotion, and of course you want to maintain that. Maybe also individual sadhana or loss experience, you say that it might be happening.
Can you please come a little closer? I can't hear you. Maybe tomorrow we can have another mic if possible, for questions.
Yes, Maharaja, your mention about unalloyed devotional service, and how just maintain that purity. Then an individual, as they get more completion of knowledge or understanding, there's a personal sadhana or a type of rasa relationship they may establish. How do you differentiate between those two sometimes? It can be difficult.
Between unalloyed devotion and?
Personal sadhana or personal relationship that one may have with the Lord.
Okay, good, thank you. You see, the difference is that one is a practicing stage, the other is the perfected stage. The unalloyed devotion is the perfected stage, which is achieved through the practice. So sadhana bhakti, and sadhana bhakti is leading to prema bhakti. Thank you. Yes, Mother Krishna Priya.
My question is, we often hear stories about when the different yogis or would be practicing different austerities, that the demigods would become concerned and try to deviate them. So also in the path of devotional service, it seems that as one tries to progress, that the tests become more and more subtle. So how does one actually take
Good, thank you. So it is seen, or rather, in the scriptures there are many instances when one makes spiritual advancement, the demigods come and create disturbance and try to deviate them from their path. That generally happens in the Karma Kanda section, not in pure devotional platform. Because the demigods can see that this person is performing Karma Kanda activity, so his desire probably is fruitive, right? And probably they are going to take away my position through his austerities. He will excel my achievement and take over. Therefore, they try to distract them by sending apsaras and things. Whereas for a devotee, they don't have any material motivation. And even the demigods send the apsaras. Like the devotees will preach to those apsaras and make them into devotees. And what to speak of the apsaras, the devotees will speak to demigods also and make them into devotees. That is the power of devotional service. The devotional service is so wonderful that when one gets a taste of it, no one can detract him, no one can dissuade him from that path. Yes?
You mentioned earlier that one of the qualities of a Paramahamsa is avadut. Is that right? Is that correct? Are all avadutas Paramahamsas?
Yeah. Okay, good point. Are all avadhutas Paramahamsas? Yes. All avadhutas, real avadhutas are Paramahamsas. But all Paramahamsas are not avadhutas. Right? Because the Paramahamsa stage is actually Uttamadhikar platform. But an Uttamadhikari devotee, in order to preach, comes down to the Madhyamadhikar platform. Because if he functions in the Uttamadhikar platform, he won't be able to preach. Therefore, in order to preach, they come down from the Uttamadhikar platform and come down to Madhyamadhikar. Yes.
You also spoke about the right and wrong enjoyment. So usually, I don't remember hearing much about joy in Krishna consciousness. Usually we thought we shouldn't enjoy. So now hearing from you that it's okay, it's natural for us to enjoy in connection with Krishna consciousness. That's
Okay.
good. Because in my mind it seems like that to enjoy is connected with being selfish. I would like you to elaborate more.
Yeah, okay.
Good concept for being personal.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah. I also made that point. Did everybody hear the question? Okay, you mentioned that through pure devotional service, one enjoys, and getting the higher taste, one gives up the lower taste. But generally understanding is that in devotional service we should not enjoy. Right? Then my response to that is, Jiva is Anandamaya. If there is no enjoyment, why he will go for devotional service? Right? And if we promote that kind of understanding, no enjoyment, no one will join us. Rather, the other day someone was telling me, Mother Jamuna was telling that person that her desire to make Krishna consciousness so exciting that all the youth would just come running to join this movement. It should be so exciting that everyone will want to join it. Right? That is the real spirit of Krishna consciousness. But the point is, as you had mentioned at the beginning, right enjoyment and wrong enjoyment. We have to give up the concept of wrong enjoyment to get the right enjoyment. Like for example, a person wants to enjoy as a king. He wants to revolt against the king, topple the kingdom, become the king, and he wants to become an Indian. He wants to enjoy that way. What will be the result of that attitude? As a rebel, he will be arrested and put into prison. Right? On the hand, the more he develops that attitude, the more severe will be his punishment. On the other hand, another person, he goes to the king and says, "My lord, I want to serve you. What can you do? I can massage your feet very nicely." "Oh, that's good. I need a masseur. Come and stay with me." So now this person, what he does, he loves to massage. He's an expert masseur. And he massages the king's body. Right? And he stays in the king's palace. And along with the king, he enjoys the food that king eats. He eats the same food. The palace where the king lives, he lives in the same palace. So that is the right enjoyment.
So it's the enjoyment in the mode of service.
Or enjoyment by being surrendered to Krishna and rendering devotional service to Krishna is the right way to enjoy. But revolting against Krishna, trying to take over, is the wrong way. That is what is rejected. We should never try to become the enjoyer, but we should become connected to the enjoyed. We should become connected to the real enjoyer, assuming the role of an enjoyed, and that is how we are going to enjoy. Yes, Samala?
Why was it that Krishna was more direct with Uddhava than with Arjuna?
Why Krishna is more?
Direct.
Yeah. Okay. Because to Arjuna, Krishna was giving the knowledge of Karma Yoga, basically. Whereas to Uddhava, he is giving direct bhakti. The other reason is Uddhava's position as a devotee is more exalted than Arjuna's. That's why Krishna is revealing the higher truth to him. Okay? Yes?
Maharaj, my question is from the previous class. You were mentioning about the different stages of sannyasa. That is Kutichat, Bhavutag and Parivrajapachar. So Maharaj, if you can explain this please. Because for Srila Prabhupada also we use Parivrajapachar. Don't use on the
Okay. Parivrajak. Okay. The first stage, there are 4 stages of sannyas. The first stage is Kutichak. In that stage, one takes sannyas, but stays close to his house. He leaves his home, but stays close. Sometimes near on a river bank, he makes a hut, lives there. And sometimes his family members come and give him some food and take care of his needs. Then the next stage, Bahudha, he is not staying close to his house, and taking anything, foodstuff or things from their family members. He goes out and begs from door to door, and that's how he maintains himself. Bahudha. Collecting food from many. Bahudha. Then he begins to wander, travel around, imparting spiritual knowledge. That is Paribrajak. And then he transcends the material nature and goes to the spiritual sky, or becomes situated in the spiritual sky. That is Paramahamsa.
Srila Prabhupada was on the Paramahamsa platform.
Yes, Prabhupada was beyond Paramahamsa.
Because we normally, when we
So therefore, Paribrajak Acharya, he came down from Uttamadikar platform, Paramahamsa platform, to this Paribrajak platform to distribute Krishna consciousness. Yes?
Maharaja, I asked the question with cumulative Tattvic and Kalyana mode. What is the right way to interpret Uddhava's conversation with Krishna on Ashtanga Yoga, 11th canto of 15th chapter?
What's your question?
What's the mode in which we should try to understand 11th canto of 15th chapter, Uddhava's conversation with Krishna on Ashtanga Yoga?
Ashtanga Yoga. Anyway, now we are not dealing with that chapter now. When that chapter comes, then we can discuss. Yes, Aditya?
In the previous session, you explained like 4 different gurus, or Yadam and Ramana. But I was thinking like all these different, he saw different styles and learned different qualities. But was there a mention of like the method to actually acquire these qualities? Like does he actually talk like through devotional service and acquire these qualities? Like,
What's the method of?
yeah, was there a mention of the method to acquire these different qualities from? Because I was thinking that he sees the sky and he has the understanding of like soul and things like that. But is there a method? Because like even like tree, you see like
It's left up to the individual. Like there is no specific method as such. But it is, at the most you can say, it's a state of consciousness, state of spiritual elevation. When one becomes so open, one becomes so Krishna conscious that he is prepared to learn a lesson from anybody. Which means he has become completely free from his false ego. Generally a tendency is, why should I learn from him? What does he know? Right? That's a display of our false ego. We are acting on false ego platform. But he's teaching such a nice lesson to me by his own behavior. Right? For example, he gives the example of that Karura bird. That bird was carrying the meat, the food. And he saw that other birds, more powerful birds, are attacking him. He just dropped it. And by doing that, he became free from their attack. Normally one will see, okay, the birds are flying, some birds are being attacked by other birds, and he was carrying something, he dropped it. Like, we'll just observe it. But we won't reflect on it. But here what he is doing, he is reflecting on it. Oh, look at this bird. He was being attacked because of that. And now he just gave up. So these are the cause of material conflict. These are the cause of envy. So let me just withdraw from that, just to avoid this negative onslaughts from others.
So only through devotional service can one actually come to appreciate these?
Yeah, right. Because only through devotion one can become free from false ego. Like other processes inflate false ego. Like for example, the process of yoga, why the process of yoga is the Ashtanga yoga can be detrimental? Because it deals with the subtle body. And when it deals with the subtle body, it kind of strengthens the subtle body. Right? And strengthening the subtle body means your false ego becomes inflated. Whereas devotional service teaches us how to get rid of the false ego, not to become a victim of false ego. So that's why this is the most perfect process. Other processes, like, as I was saying, in the long run, actually the goal of that, all those, is to come to the platform of devotion. Yoginam api sarvesam. What's the goal of Ashtanga Yoga? To become a devotee. Nilamani Prabhu?
This whole concept of the 24 gurus, we learn from that, or we think that we should take instruction from various places, if possible. But that is somewhat contrary to the principle of receiving knowledge in parampara or an authorized source.
Okay, good point. Very good point. So, this consideration of 24 gurus, receiving instructions from different individuals and situations, isn't it contrary to our concept of Guru Parampara, that taking the instruction from only our Guru and the Acharyas in the same line? Okay, this is something like, you see, you have your home and you go collect different precious objects to decorate your home. Right? Our parampara is something like our home. And collecting information and enriching ourselves is like collecting to decorate our home. Our loyalty remains with our parampara. But wherever gold is available, wherever some valuable information is available, we collect it. But that should be done at a rather advanced stage. Otherwise, one may become bewildered to such an extent that he may leave his parampara and go somewhere else. That shouldn't happen. Our loyalty to the parampara must remain intact. Like, which is our home, spiritual home. That's where we belong. We belong to ISKCON. But if some informations are available, don't we search in the Google if we need some information? Today I tell you, Google is the biggest guru. I mean, frankly, it's true that so much information we get from Google nowadays.
At the same time, Maharaja, generally...
But we don't we accept, we feel gratitude, we feel grateful to Google, but...
At the same time, it's recommended we don't go and hear prolections or lectures.
Well, at an advanced stage, it's okay. Like as I was saying, like if advanced means our faith has become properly established, there is no fear of deviating, then it's all right. They're saying something nice, telling us about Krishna Katha, why not? And that way we learn also, we also use our intelligence or use our information, what is right and what is wrong. Sometimes they say all kinds of things that are not really authoritative. So we reject it. Okay. After all, we know who they are. But if there is something nice, we take it. And in that respect, I must also admit, like in the beginning, Prabhupada was very careful. Prabhupada didn't want the devotees to go out anywhere. That is mainly because the devotees were rather immature and they were susceptible to become deviated. And it happened. When Prabhupada was initial stage, Prabhupada was sending some of his disciples to India. But unfortunately some individuals took those disciples away and gave them initiation. So when that happened, then Prabhupada stopped it. But at an advanced stage, he'll never do that. Like we find it's happening, people are leaving ISKCON, going to this place or that place, and this sampradaya or that sampradaya, this guru or that guru. But that's due to their immaturity. At that stage, they better don't go anywhere. But at an advanced stage, yes, it's possible. He can do that. And that way he learns what to accept and what to reject. Yes, Nandadulal?
The morning you mentioned about also Islam, about the mukti and mukti. So in Bengali they say that bhakti bina mukti nahi, holy kale nama bhakti. My question is, what about mukti? This question is.
Yeah, bhakti bina mukti nai. Without bhakti you cannot get mukti. Right? The liberation you cannot get without devotion. Yoga, tapasya, all these processes cannot give you mukti until you accept devotional service. And then the second part of it, as you were saying, nama bhashe mukti hai. কোটি জন্মে ব্রহ্মজ্ঞানে যেই মুক্তি হয় নয়, কেবল শুধুমাত্র নামাভাসেই সেই মুক্তি হয়। Namabhash, not even pure chanting. That's the clearing stage of chanting. One gets liberation. Therefore, liberation is not a big thing for a devotee. Because devotee is already liberated. Namabhashe, he has already achieved mukti. So why should he go for mukti? He wants to go for prema. Right? Okay, yes, Navin?
Today we've heard a lot about the Grihastha ashram and the sannyas ashram. I'm wondering how important is it for ISKCON devotees in the Grihastha ashram to take up the Vanaprastha? What does that mean for ISKCON?
Vanaprastha actually means retired life. Retired life. So at some point, a householder, nowadays it's not possible to go to forest. Vanaprastha means going to forest. But nowadays it's not possible to live in the forest because people are not really equipped or they're physically not fit to live in a forest. But what they can do is move into an ISKCON temple and live in ashram. That is Vanaprastha for ISKCON. Or travel and preach or go to visit different temples. An householder at certain stage can do that or maybe should do that. Should do that. Yes, Aditya?
You read one of the verses, third verse of this chapter. You read the third verse of this chapter. In that it says that both knowledge and ignorance being products of Maya are expansions of Maya.
Yeah.
Can you explain how knowledge is expansion of Maya?
Yeah. So Maya functions in two ways. In this respect, Prabhupada actually gives an example. A policeman. A policeman, to a criminal, is something very frightening. But to a law-abiding person, he's a source of safety. Right? Same policeman. To one person he appears in one way, and to the other person he appears in some other way. So those who are materially entangled, they are bewildered by Krishna's illusory energy, Maya. And those who are interested in making advancement in spiritual life, developing relationship with Krishna, for them, this same Maya, Yoga Maya, is taking them to Krishna or giving them the knowledge, engaging them in Krishna's service. So this way, both ignorance and knowledge are the influence of Krishna's Maya. Okay, yes?
The fish is attached to the taste, with sense of taste, and it gets entangled with the hook. So we also, when we become devotees in the neophyte stage, we are very attracted to the prasad, and we overeat, and it's very detrimental for our progress. How to overcome that?
There's no need to overcome that. Because that's a transcendental bait. And the question is that today you mentioned that a fish being attracted to taste swallows the bait and gets hooked. Now, we also are attracted to Krishna Prasad due to our attachment to taste. So, what should be done? Should we try to give up that? My answer is, no, we should accept that bait. It's a bait. By Krishna conscious, by Krishna Prasad, we are getting hooked to Krishna consciousness. Yes, Mother Brajalila.
Thank you very much for being here, and thank you so much for this class. I'm very intrigued by a point you made about the pure devotee not having a subtle body. It's, in some ways, it makes the entire philosophy sound so simplistic.
Yeah.
That as long as one is dovetailing everything, then the subtle body, if they're dovetailing in Krishna consciousness, then there won't be a subtle body. And one will become one is pure devotee.
Right.
Very simplistic. Srila Prabhupada said that all of his disciples were pure devotees. So I guess my question is that why there are different levels of pure devotees, or can you please expand on that?
Yeah, thank you, Mother Brajalila. I think everyone heard the question. I don't have to repeat. So Mother Brajalila is saying that Srila Prabhupada mentioned that all the devotees in ISKCON are pure devotees. Now she's saying, are there different levels of pure devotion? And so in that respect, Mother Brajalila, I'll give, my first immediate responses will be, yes, there are different levels of pure devotion, in the sense, some are in an immature stage or unripe stage, and some are in the ripened stage of pure devotion. Some are in the practicing stage, and some are in the perfected stage of pure devotion. In this respect, Prabhupada himself gave an example. Prabhupada mentioned all the devotees in ISKCON are pure devotees. And some devotees questioned, naturally out of curiosity, Prabhupada, everyone in ISKCON is a pure devotee? Even the new bhakta who joined yesterday, is he a pure devotee? Or the one who just got initiated the other day, is he a pure devotee? And so forth. Prabhupada said, yes. It's only a matter of green mango and ripe mango. The mango may be green today, but if it remains in the tree, it will become ripe mango. So those who are in ISKCON, if they stay in ISKCON, even though they may be just a new bhakta, in course of time, they will become pure devotees, because ISKCON is the institution for making pure devotees. ISKCON is a factory that manufactures pure devotees. So, yes, some are green and some are ripe, but all the mangoes will become ripe as long as they remain in the tree. Thank you. Does it answer your question? Thank you. Okay, last question.
The teachings of Lord Chaitanya mentioned that ultimately all the entities will go back to God. So does that mean that everybody will become pure devotee?
Ultimately, everyone will go back to Godhead. Yes. So many will go back and many will come also. Like the king may give a total amnesty to all the prisoners. But does the prison house remain empty since then? No. New criminals will come and fill up the prison house. So that's what happens in the material nature. Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hare. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much.